Antonio Gisbert's 2024 Ballot Measure 118. This has been tried before, and it is not an income tax. Nor is it a sales tax. Nor is it anything unusual. Let me explain. We're going to do the estimated effect first, to get that out of the way. 3% Oregon corporate tax for transactions or income or whatever, go look it up, of $25 million or more per incident or per incrementation of $25 million. It would only affect 2% of businesses, period, full stop, within the state of Oregon. This would be an added tax thrown on top of the tax system that very powerful, very rich people, and more importantly, corporations would have to then find a way to magic away. If you're not aware of it, it's a rich man's game to avoid paying taxes, unless you explicitly state that the tax is only for the rich. And if you use a progressive tax system, you could be taxed at 80% at income above a certain level, but that's only on that chunk of the income. And your job as a rich person isn't to get rich by just letting the system work and paying your damn taxes. It's to keep cheating the tax system, but doing it by having other parts of the legislature give you an out. If you do that for many, many decades, rich people eventually become a target of taxation, and progressive tax gets kicked back in. Or you roll back all of the tax breaks. Every single Republican on this planet is in favor of tax breaks for the rich because they think trickle-down economics actually fucking works. Yes, that's a 2-minute explanation of what's actually going on. Now let's talk about Antonio Gisbert. Let's not. It's a person proposing the same idea. Regular, universal, basic income payments with no strings attached. Just like if you were to earn the money, nobody can tell you what to do with it. That will absolutely raise the hackles of anybody who wants to believe that a poor person is poor because they are immoral. Yes, I'm throwing that in everybody's face like a wet fish. 2% of businesses or less in the state of Oregon would actually have to pay it. It would only be the ones that are worth a shit ton of money, a lot more than your local small business. No, your small business would not be on this list. Yes, some of them will claim because everybody in the middle income wants to act like a rich person because they think if they think like them, paranoid, tax avoiding, that they'll get rich. The idea is that the rich people carrot and stick the poor people and the middle income. The higher, the middle, and the lower. Go look it up. It's a poem of some sort. Now, this is based on a surplus of $6.5 billion a year estimated that would instead not be part of anything the legislature could touch. It would simply be issued as either a tax credit, if you actually make middle income, or you could request it as a direct payment, meaning the people of the state of Oregon would be allowed to drain any surplus per year, and also, or, depending on how it's interpreted, pull all of this corporate tax money out of every corporation for an extra $1,000 a year. Now, if you're not aware of it, that amounts to being able to pay your rent in Portland, Oregon 1 month at a cheap place, but not necessarily next year. But it does mean it would help a bit. This would pull $6.5 billion a year, divided under 4 million Oregonians, a little over $1,000 every year, minimum. It could go up as high as almost $2,000. $1,700 is the peak of it for not 2025 or 26, but 27. Redistribution, literally, of income, which, if you are in favor of tax laws changing to where you benefit from them. By the way, I want to point out many states avoid having taxes and then demand the federal government let them drain taxes every time a hurricane goes through, but they vote against getting the benefits from FEMA because that's the smoke and mirrors they play with their politicians all the time. And yes, that is republicanism at its dumbest. What is this going to have an effect of that's negative for poor people? Well, if you get food stamps, SNAP, Medicaid, or any federal or even state-issued help, this might reduce it if you're poor. Or if you're middle income and or you're supplementing your already existing life insurance and health insurance, whatever, to, a lot of people who are middle income or higher income or maybe even rich still get federal benefits because they're still guaranteed. So this might produce anywhere from $1,000 to $1,700, depending on which year you're looking at. But this also might reduce your benefits. So as a form of a minimum income, the dirty socialism idea. Now, I want to point out that the great experiment with the post-depression get up and go attitude, FDR shit, that a lot of people look back on also included deliberately taxing the living dog crap out of every large business. Every time they got more money, every time they got richer, they were taxed at a higher rate. Because if you're not aware of it, if you're a billionaire, getting taxed $1,000 extra on that last $100, that last $100,000, 1% effective tax for rich people, isn't going to hurt you. But they said it's look up the tax tables and stop listening to politicians. How is the tax affecting you if you make more than certain amounts? Why did they worry about the tax brackets? Why do rich people give away money so that they can avoid paying higher taxes? Because that's the only reason they give away money. They're not your benefactors. And yes, that's a Half-Life reference. Anyway, let's move on. This is the brainchild of one Antonio Gisbert. It's been attempted repeatedly. It's failed. And there was the somewhat but not really controversial act of paying people to collect signatures, paying them for their time to collect signatures. Not volunteerism, rigged election. No, basically he got a bunch of people to go out and collect signatures to put it on the ballot. It's up to the people. Now remember, last time Oregonians did something about something like this this is actually divisive, by the way. A lot of people are aware of the negatives and positives. We ended up with a non-implementable stack of laws concerning firearms when each one of them could have been just voted on, and each one of them could have actually said something straightforward. Like make it illegal in the state of Oregon for you to own or buy or whatever any new magazines that are over 10 rounds for any firearm. Okay, so I can use a 10-round magazine on my shotgun. Whoop-de-ding-dong. Okay. But, yeah. Make it simple, make it bite-sized, and let everybody pick what they want. No, let's get a whole slab of stuff through. So this is an example of individual item. The idea here is to make a non-negotiable 3% tax be applied to rich people that they didn't want put in. If you're feeling vindictive, it makes you happy. But because it would act as a benefit to people that are simply living in the state of Oregon for more than 200 fucking days and are breathing no matter what their age is, and in some cases after they're dead. There's a proviso that if you've been an Oregonian and you died in the state of Oregon, the tax credit can go so that your taxes don't have to be paid as much. If you're not aware of it, inheritance tax might be clobbered by this. A lot of you might actually want to hear that. So why is this here? Because this has internally a rule that says that rich corporations cannot find a way to make it to where they can avoid it. They're not allowed to tax haven it. They can't negotiate it. They have to actually pay up. Now, the other method for this would be for you and I to fire every single representative in every state and start over again by saying rich people are not allowed to have undue influence. Make it illegal for all politicians to collect any campaign funds. Make it to where bribery would be punishable by public executions, and make it to where whoever ordered the transfer of money, the richest person in the room at the time for that company, would be the one who would die. No, I'm not arguing about that. I'm actually encouraging that. And yes, it's off with their heads and guillotines and all the things a lot of, specifically, conservatives really, really enjoy the idea of. Conservatives, if you're listening, some of you might be, stop ass-worshipping rich people. Trickle-down economics means eating their shit. It does not work. Will this drive up costs? Every corporation has everybody by the balls because every time you tax them, they deliberately raise prices in your state to punish you. It's actually illegal to do that because it goes along with a bunch of rules about monopolies doing the same thing at the turn of the previous century. 1800s, corporations were very powerful because they were trusts. Antitrust laws are to destroy trusts. They're overtly anti-corporation, anti-conglomerate, antitrust. That's the way it's supposed to be. Some of you do not agree. Some of you would like this country run by, some company notoriously like Nestle owning your water supply. Does that irritate you enough? Are you aggravated? Am I triggering you? Now, I'm going to end the propaganda talk and get to this. Some people are absolutely furious at the idea that American citizens in any city, county, or state are allowed to get money handed to them without some sort of strings attached, if they're not earning it exclusively. And then there's me pointing out that there's several states that get money with no strings attached because that's how they fucking stay in existence. They absorb taxes from every other state in the union that's productive to prop up their shitty economies. See also the electrical infrastructure in Texas always breaking because they decided they're never going to make it towards state-run or federally run because reasons. Now, is it really going to produce $6.5 billion a year by taxing only the top 2%, maybe, of large corporations that, if you're not aware of it, most of them aren't based in the state of Oregon and are able to avoid taxes by claiming to be from Maryland or some other place, but they're really Chinese? Yes, I'm going to continue triggering you. Are these real problems? Or should we just take the tax system apart and say you have to pay your taxes? And a lot of rich people want to have a 15% flat tax, because that's, or a 10% flat tax. We have an effectively 15% flat tax at the end of the year for a lot of people, like in the state of Oregon. It's around 15% if you take your entire income that year. If you get right below one tax bracket or another, it's 15% taxes. If you earn less than that, it's a lot more of a chunk because it's a certain minimum tax until you're really, really poor. But it's around 15% tax that gets divvied up between the state and federal government. That's it. So a lot of them said, and a lot of people actually agree with this, why not just make it a flat 15% tax, period, full stop, on income, and just leave it? And big corporations say, no, they'll hurt us, but they say they'll hurt you. If a corporation's against it, I'm always in favor of it. But this has issues. Do we vote on this in positive? I will point out that it took a shit ton of effort to get this on the ballot. And you're not going to get any factual data on it. And even the write-ups I'm seeing on OPB and even the write-up itself of how the thing's listed, it harkens back to the rules about firearms that were passed where there's a bunch of ifs, ands, or buts that would have to be hammered out later. My vote, if I have a right to influence you. No. It's not explicit enough. It isn't sledgehammered in. It isn't actually completely eliminating corporations' abilities to wiggle out, and it doesn't make it to where it's illegal for them to do anything that would hurt the economy in the state of Oregon in the vindictive way. Corporations fight economic wars against the countries they occupy because corporations occupy. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And I want it a little bit better printed out and not by just one guy out of Portland who's an idealist. That's all.